Episode 1 of I Crush Podcast with one of my very best friends in the world, LA's own Jen Murphy.
I'm one of your best friends in the world?
I'd say definitely my best friend out here. Probably. So yeah, and definitely in the world.
I'm so honored.
You should be. I mean, out of all the credits and all the accomplishments you've done in comedy, being episode number 1 of this already world famous podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, where does that rank?
I mean, this is the most exciting thing that's happened. Usually people don't ask me to do their podcast till they've gone through every comic in LA, and they're like, oh, God.
You were the first comic
so
in
desperate.
LA.
Who can I get?
But it makes sense that I had you on here because, I mean, we talk a lot about comedy all the time. And also, you were the very first comic to ever give me a weekend of work with them.
Really? Dayton?
That was the very first time.
That was your first weekend?
That was the very first time I ever did a whole weekend of comedy.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, so I was like, you did that huge favor for me, so let me give you this huge favor.
And
like, your career is going to blow up
that
now.
weekend was the first time that I ever tripped getting up to the stage.
I remember that.
I'd like to say I just tripped, but I believe we were slightly intoxicated.
I believe
I ate shit.
I believe our livers needed to be separated after just 3 days with you. I remember like before the shows and then just going out to dinner with you, and it was like, all right, I'm with Jen Murphy. I can't have just one beer. And then just you and I just laughing hysterically at each other's sets. Like,
I mean, we
every
never
single
like
show.
got wasted before the show started, but that one I tripped was the second show of the night.
Yeah.
And I think we did some drinks. I don't want people to think we're totally unprofessional.
I mean, yeah. But I remember after the first night of shows, we were just walking around the little neighborhood. We ended up in like some quote unquote urban club where all these guys are dancing, and then you just went in the middle of them and started dancing, and they're all like, oh no.
I thought they'd think it was funny, and they didn't.
No, they all just like turned around and walked away.
Yeah, they were not into me. Also, I was wearing these jeans that I really liked the jeans, but they got a rip right in the butt.
Yeah.
And I took this like red scarf and cut it and then sewed it on like a patch.
Nice.
And some guy came up to me because it was kind of dark in there, so he couldn't think he could really see what it was. And he's like, yo, you started your period, girl. I was like, well, I'm not going to wear those jeans again.
Yeah.
I thought people would be able to tell it's a patch, but no.
Yeah, it happens.
It's just a big red spot on my ass.
I got a big brown spot on my ass, but
right now?
I don't
Or
think
always?
Right now. Always, just keep it.
Oh, your bare ass?
Yeah.
I'm
Maybe.
freeballing it today, by the way.
Are you?
In honor of you.
Are you? I don't free ball.
I never do.
There'd be no way that I would ever assume free balling would be comfortable.
I never do, but today I woke up and I was like,
Fuck
I'm just going to put on my shorts. I'm going to see Justin.
Yeah. I do. You know what? I take that back. When I wear basketball shorts, like if I'm going to like the grocery store or something real quick, like I'll just. But like if I'm wearing jeans, like
yeah,
no.
I don't know how a lot of guys do free ball it with jeans. I think that does not sound comfortable.
No, not at all. I'm a trunk guy.
Your
Like I like
stuff
to
is
have.
rubbing around.
I like the like small trunks, like keep it compressed.
Yeah, it seems like it would just get like when you get agitated like from running. What's the term I'm looking for?
Jock itch, rash.
Close
little
enough.
Rash. Yeah.
Like when your thighs rub together. If people are overweight and they get the.
Right.
You guys know what I'm talking about? Somebody say the word.
What? It's a rash, heat rash, or
I don't want to spend the whole podcast thinking about it.
Yeah.
It'll come to me later.
we'll talk about it later.
We'll get back
now
to
that
that.
my mom's not listening anymore. One of the what the concept of this podcast, like we've talked about, is chafing.
Sorry,
there we
it was
go.
going to drive me nuts.
The concept of this podcast is chafing, and I like to have comics on here. And we talk about early days in chafing.
Yes.
But no, it's about comedy, like when you first started, like because I think a lot of comics like get put on podcasts and they like to go on there and talk about everything they're doing now, like all these great projects, and that's why a lot of them get brought into podcasts is because they have something like an album they're getting ready to release or a new special.
Yeah.
But I think it would be funny to sit down with comics and let's forget that bullshit and let's talk about like when you first started, like the shit you go through when you first start, and like the jokes that you write that you think are just hilarious at the time, but looking back on them now, you're like, why would I even think about saying something like that? And we've talked about it before, and that's why I wanted you to come on, is so I could, so you can share your story with the like I think right now we're at 1.7 million listeners
Is that
already.
all? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was higher.
No, I'm only at 2,000 Instagram followers, so I'm
Oh,
still
okay.
trying. Yeah,
It'll
so,
build.
Yeah. So, and people aren't really hip to podcasts yet in LA. So now that
Yeah.
I'm starting one, I think it's gonna
That's gonna
people are
catch
gonna
on.
catch. Yeah, that's the plan. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Next thing you know, people will be doing them like from their car and everything.
Oh,
Crazy.
can you imagine? Can you imagine doing one anywhere else than the Third Wheel Podcast Studio? Follow us on Instagram. You like that, Mike? Gotcha, buddy.
Yeah.
You're about to have
Shout
1
out.
million followers after this one. But no, you started in New York City.
The first time I did stand-up was in New York. Yes.
Okay.
I was taking acting classes because I wanted to be a theater actress.
Theater.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my acting coach kept telling me that I should do comedy because he said anytime I tried to be dramatic, it made him laugh. So I guess I wasn't a good drama actress. I was like, no, I'm being serious. He's like, no, it's funny.
Yeah.
But he kept pushing me, and I'm like, no way, I can't do stand. Like, cause I was very shy, so like I can't do stand up by myself.
Right.
Then it turned out he was really good friends with Colin Quinn.
Oh.
So he's like, I'm bringing Colin Quinn into the acting studio. He's gonna do like a 3-week workshop. Colin Quinn does not teach stand up. I don't want to put that out there. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's not his thing. But it was a favor for a friend.
Right.
He's like, I'll come in, sure. He was super cool. Once he said
Yeah.
that, then I'm like, okay, I got to do it. Challenge accepted.
Right.
So Colin Quinn came in, and I mean, he wasn't really trying to teach us. He's just sort of, he's like, just try and write what's funny, do it in
Right.
front of me. So the first time I did any stand-up was in this classroom in front of Colin Quinn. Pretty awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah. You want to hear one of my jokes?
That's.
Just like your Colin Quinn?
Yep.
Okay. This joke lasted a long time, by the way.
Let's hear it.
It made it to my first television appearance.
But then I got to hear one that didn't last long.
This is one of the first jokes I wrote, and it
Let's hear
lasted. Okay. Yeah, then I'll tell you one that didn't go past Colin Quinn.
Okay.
Okay. I wrote, I'm 30 now, and I'm single. Dating at 30 is like shopping that Rite Aid day after Easter, 50% off candy sale, where all that's left are those yellow marshmallow peeps. I mean, can I just get something with a nut? Where's the Snickers?
Yeah.
Killed, dude. It killed.
Did it?
No.
What's that?
And that joke actually used to do pretty good. I did it for a long
no,
You've
I
probably
think,
heard it.
No, I've heard you do it before, but that defeats the whole purpose.
That joke
of,
lasted the whole first like 4 years or so of my career where you have that 8-minute set that works.
Mm-hmm.
That was in it.
How long did it take you to get that 8 minutes? Like, just to give people a idea of how long it takes to get.
Well, I mean, like the first set I did was probably like 6 or 7. So, but you mean like that, like when you have like a good like,
showcase,
solid?
like 5 to 7 minute set, like one that.
I'd say just a couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's a question I have for you: what came first, a solid 5 minutes or a MySpace comedy page?
Solid 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I did not go on MySpace until way late. I kept fighting it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I kept fighting social media.
I get it. And
then I caved.
I made a MySpace page before I even got on stage for the first time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was signed
And
up.
you put I'm a comedian?
I was signed up for it's a comedian page.
Nice.
Yeah, I was signed up for an open mic at the Columbus Funny Bone in Ohio, and the day I signed up, I made my MySpace comedy page.
And what was the picture? Did you have a microphone, or what did you have in your picture?
Oh, I didn't have a microphone yet. It did turn into that though. The very first time someone took a picture of me on stage, and that was my thing. It was just a picture of. I think I was wearing a tap out hat on backwards, and I thought that would definitely do the trick. So, what can I say? Funny story though. I've shared this with you. I after my first 5 minutes, I experienced writer's block, which I hear all the big comics talking about writer's block.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, I have it now. I can't come up with any new jokes. I think I was 3 weeks in. So
3 weeks in,
yeah,
you were tapped out.
Yeah.
You hit your peak.
So I send Joe Rogan a message on MySpace asking if he can help me.
Help you write jokes?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah, I'm sure.
And I still to this day can't believe he messaged me back.
Whoa.
Yeah, he was like, I don't know what to really tell you. It happens to the best of us. Smoke a fat joint.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And I like still to this day like cannot believe
you
that.
were asking him what to do about writer's
Oh
block.
yeah, because
I thought you
writer's
messaged
block.
and was like, "Can you help me write some jokes?"
No, I asked him about how to help me with writer's block, which I thought was writer's block.
It would have been so much better if you asked him to write some
yeah,
help
joke.
you
Can
write
you
jokes.
write me jokes?
You send him a picture.
Yeah,
I have some tattoos.
I have a tap. I didn't have any of these in, but I had a tap
from
out hat.
Ohio. You got anything?
I saw his special actually. The one he filmed in Ohio. I went to it.
Nice.
But no, looking back on that now, it's so cringy, but so hilarious to me that I emailed Joe Rogan of all people to help me with writer's block.
I feel like sometimes when you're newer, you have bigger balls because you
yeah.
don't know. Now I'm like more
know.
nervous to reach out to people. Like when I was younger, I'd reach out to everybody. Like
I know one comic who like got his start like because he would just sit on Twitter and just tweet everyone, and when they'd come through the Columbus Funny Bone, they would pick him up, take him, like say, yeah, come do a guest spot. And then like Ralphie and like he opens for Dane Cook now. Like he's always just on the road. Like so that's how he literally got started. He was homeschooled, and his mom really didn't watch him do work, so he'd just sit in his room and tweet famous comedians.
Well, the perfect example of that is Brian Redband.
Really?
Do you know his story of how he got with Joe Rogan?
Mm-mm.
He was living out in I don't know where he's from. Let's just say Ohio.
Right,
somewhere.
no, it's right. He's
right?
from Ohio.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought so, but then I was like, maybe Ohio's just in my head because of you.
Yeah.
And he would write to Joe Rogan. And the Joe Rogan came to town. He went and he met him, and he told him, like, I don't know. Podcasting wasn't around yet, so I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah.
But he kept in touch with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan told him move to LA and come work for me. Like while he was still living in Ohio, he came out here because Joe told him to come work for him.
Oh wow.
So you never know.
So that's your advice to kids that want to get into comedy.
Yeah,
message
annoy
Joe
the shit
Rogan.
out of Joe Rogan. Who else can we annoy? Orny Adams.
Orny Adams.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes that too.
Chris Frangiola would for sure love to have comics. He'll probably let you feature for him too. So if you're trying to get into comedy, message Chris Frangiola. And Eddie Pence, actually. Eddie Pence knows why I am putting his name on blast right now. Eddie Pence.
I can't believe you would even ask Eddie to do your podcast. You know he podcasts 9 hours a day.
I know. And I thought, maybe a guy that he knew before his podcast fame, he'd scratch my back with this new world famous podcast I'm doing, and I could help his career. And Eddie Pence, just follow him.
Maybe he was like, oh, if I'm the first episode, I'll look desperate. I need to be like episode 15.
But that's when we're like in billions of views, and I probably won't even know who Eddie Pence is.
He's probably going to miss out.
Yeah, you missed the train, Eddie. You missed the eye crushed.
You want to hear my awful joke that didn't?
I would love to hear.
Did not stay in the act?
Your awful joke that didn't stay in the act.
Okay, this is fine. Okay, so I was walking down the street today in New York City, and I saw this lady, and she was walking 2 of her dogs, and she was yelling at one dog and then the other, and she was like, "Star, Bucks, Star, Bucks." You're welcome.
Do you not use that anymore?
That's the punchline. No, should I bring it back?
I think you should.
All right, I'm thinking about making like a tape to submit to the Tonight Show, so I think I might.
It's clean.
You
it's
think
TV friendly.
It is.
And
topical.
Yeah, everyone talks about Starbucks still.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're onto something. Like I think you're underestimating the.
And then I could do like another one, like on top of it. You know how they say tag your joke?
Yeah, tag it.
And I could be like pumpkin, spice. Now she has 4 dogs.
Oh shit. Because then it's like a crazy dog lady too.
Yeah.
And people are like stories of women who rescue dogs. So I think
this is how you make good jokes great.
That's how. Yep. And that's how comedy's easy. That's pretty much what. That's why I'm making this podcast, is to let people know how easy comedy is.
You should let everyone know how easy it is.
I want to hear. So, did you go up that often in New York after the acting class?
No. So this is the thing. If I had known I was going to do comedy full time, I'd known.
At the time,
I probably should have stayed in New York. But
Right.
I mean, whatever. That's doesn't matter now. But no, I did it probably like 5 or 6 times, and I had already been in New York for like 8 years or so, and I was already planning on moving back here. I was kind of like, it's not working out here. Maybe I'll come back to California and stuff.
Right.
And then once I got to LA, all of a sudden I went like full force into stand up for some reason.
Yeah.
So, I don't always make the best decisions in life.
get
But
it.
hey, I wouldn't have met you if I stayed in New York.
And you wouldn't have been here at the Third Wheel Podcast Studios
Exactly.
discussing this.
Do you feel like, so your first show, was it good? Because I feel like mine went really well, and
My
I
first
don't
show-
know if I would have kept doing it if I bombed the very first show.
Yeah, my first show went really, really, really well. But my first show, I also had 60-some people, my friends, all come out to the
Okay.
Columbus Funny Bone,
That's cool.
which is a really nice club that you should not be doing your very first open mic at, because they get like 100 people
That's
at
so
open
awesome.
mic nights.
That's so amazing.
So
But did you feel like you were actually funny, or were
Yeah.
your friends giving you pity laughs?
no,
or
no,
something?
I felt like I was funny. It was definitely, at the time I think I had like shake weight jokes and stuff. Like it wasn't stuff that I could do now, but like when you're so new to it, you don't understand like
Yeah.
jokes that I'd get like shock laughs on some of my jokes. Like I remember one of them was like, my girlfriend told me that she's getting ready to start yoga, but they put her on the wait list, and I was like, nice, how much do you have to lose before you start? And
I
it
think
would-
that's funny.
yeah. But it was like stuff like that would get
That's a
that
good
like
joke.
it was like that little shock laugh. But then I remember I did like my first 4 times at the Funny Bone, and then I thought I was just a comedian. I was like, oh yeah, I'm a comic now. Like I perform at the Funny Bone.
Yeah.
And it's not like Stroop was booking me. It was me just going to open mics. But obviously when I talk to people, I'm like, yeah, I perform at the Funny Bone all the time.
You're lucky that you got to start in a place that has that many people at an open mic.
Right. No, absolutely.
Because in LA, that's why a lot of people shit on classes. But I mean, although mine wasn't technically a class, but we
Right.
still, there was 6 of us that were in that workshop with Colin Quinn. We still, our first performance got to be at the New York,
Yeah.
Stand Up New York.
Yeah.
And that's one of the benefits is at least your first time is at a real club, and you can maybe leave with
Right.
some confidence.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Columbus was you would, before the open mic, there was like a 20-minute workshop. Like all the comics would get together and like run new jokes, and then
Oh, that's
we'd all
cool.
sit there and help just.
I can't imagine my first time being at like these open mics I go to sometimes now where it's like 4 people that aren't paying attention. Like you're talking to yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine starting. I mean, I, for the most part, did start in LA because I was only doing it like once a month. Like
Yeah,
for the
that's how I
first
was
year,
in New York,
and I
yeah.
was just like, eh.
Yeah.
But I did Tom Clark's comedy class when I first moved to LA. And I'm not going to say that, Tom wasn't one that said, hey, we're going to make you famous. I want to make you a great comic. He never said that. What it was, though, was you got to try new stuff. You got a comedic genius, like, helping you, like, learn, like, helping you with, like, I don't know, like, here, let's take it this way. And it was like what you look for in an open mic. Like you got to take new material there, and you got like you had ears listening to you.
Speaking in 2019 terms, it was a safe space.
It was a very safe space.
Nobody was going to bully you if you weren't funny.
Yeah, but I remember when
How many people were in that Tom Clark class with you?
probably like 10.
Okay, that's a good number.
Yeah. So, but I remember doing my first open mic in LA when I first got out here, and I was like, oh, here we go. This is it. This is the start of something cool. And I went to Marty's, and I got up,
hilarious.
and dude, I was getting heckled by the coffee machine in the back. That people were just like making coffee back there. No one was listening to you.
Cappuccino machine.
Yeah, and
Oh.
I was just like, where am I at? So
Yeah. Well, you were smart in the beginning because you started putting together your own shows
yeah.
and meeting comics that have been doing it longer than you. That was really smart.
And that's what I encourage everyone to do. I
Yeah.
think just having a show in LA is like, I was talking to Graham Elwood about this, and he was like, it's like having currency
Yeah.
in town. Like you can like not only trade spots, but like you can also network that way. Like I've gotten to know some really cool people just from having a show, and I want to say that, I avoided the easy route of like doing the bringer show route, like doing the
No, you were
Okay.
very smart. Yeah, because it wasn't a bringer show, and also people do trade, but you weren't. You didn't seem like you were ever booking someone to trade a spot. You
Right.
booked the most hilarious people that you knew, and then you
Yeah.
naturally networked with them and became friends with them, and
and then
very
it just
smart.
like word just started spreading. Like
Some people that trade spots, it's shitty.
yeah,
And then everyone you see on their lineup
You
is
can
only
tell.
people that have other shows
yeah.
in LA, and that's
So no,
whether they're funny or not. It's like just shitty.
and it's just funny because like there's been rooms that I've had, like anytime I get a show, I always hit you up. But like even that apartment building,
That was
like,
fun.
Yeah, but like when you have to pitch it to people, like I think I built a name for myself now where I can like reach out to you and
Yeah.
the other comics on it. Like, all right, look, I know this sounds weird, but do you want to do comedy in a karaoke room at this apartment building? And
Yeah,
even if it sucks, like people are gonna be like, well,
you've definitely
all right.
gained people's trust.
Yeah, so it's not like because I'm building a new room right now, and yeah, there's been certain nights where I'm like, oh man, this is rough, but at the same time, it's like you just got to keep at it and keep building it and everything.
Yeah,
So,
no, you've been very smart.
so we talked about
You're
the good
my
shows.
hero.
Am I?
Yes.
Yeah. Can we bring up the Enrique Iglesias video? Pull that up for me. So we're talking about those shows, but I want to hear you first moved to LA. I want to hear a shitty show.
I gotta say, I didn't have a ton of like shitty experiences. I definitely
Yeah.
did some bars where nobody was paying attention.
Yeah.
Probably one of the worst experiences I had was my fault, because I did a show. So my family's all around LA, not like some in LA, but Orange County, close
Right.
enough.
Yeah.
So they used to come when I was newer. They would come to a lot of shows.
Right.
So I was doing a show in Studio City, and I was pretty new. And my mom came with my stepdad, who I don't know if I've told you the story, but my stepdad used to be my uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me. That's
So my mom married her sister's ex-husband. Anyway, I guess I still had some residual anger from that whole situation,
Yeah.
even though they had already been married for a couple years. So I decided it was a good idea. I'm sure I had a few drinks. I decided I was on stage and they're in the audience, and so's my brother. And I decided to do something that I'd never done, like a joke that I just wrote that day.
Yeah.
Specifically for them.
Yeah.
Where I said like, oh, my mom, she always worries because I don't have health care. She's like, don't you worry? Don't you stay up at night? Do you worry something's going to happen to you and you don't have insurance? And I was like, no, I don't. But you know what does keep me up at night? The thought of Uncle Al taking you from behind. She didn't come to a show for like 3 or 4 years after.
Yeah.
I had to call and apologize. And like, it was
That's
awful.
crazy.
And then after the show, I'm introducing her to my friends. Like, here's my mom.
Yeah. That's nuts.
Yeah, it's so rude.
But kind of funny.
I thought it was funny
Yeah.
in the moment, but it's not.
It might be just a funnier story to tell after it happened.
I mean, yeah, technically it is kind of funny, but not in the...
Did you explain to the crowd too, like
Yeah.
that Uncle Al is now your?
Yeah. It wasn't pretty at
You
all.
just gave your, because
And-
I have jokes that I'll say out here about growing up that I won't say like in front of, like.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I was a newer I'm also, I'm not always the smartest person anyway, but there's definitely times now, like some people have told me, oh, you should, maybe you should make more jokes about your mom and your uncle. I'm like, even if it was something a little more tasteful than that,
Right.
I still am like, if it might hurt their feelings, is it worth it?
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Not going to make my career or break. It's not. I mean, I don't like the idea of having to stifle yourself as a comedian, but it's not like I've come up with some great joke that I'm like, oh,
Right.
yeah, that would be amazing.
But that's like a good lead way into what I wanted to talk to you about, specifically you. I've noticed, like, I've known you for 6, 7 years. I don't know. I've
At least.
Yeah. And one thing that I fell victim to a lot, like coming up in comedy, was I always, like, I made the post about it where I try to change my gimmick a lot. Like, I was always like, wearing glasses at one time, wearing ties on stage. Like, I went through so
you
many.
told me that.
Like, I just tried to, like.
I never noticed till you sent me all the pictures, and I was like, oh, you said I was the vest guy.
Yeah, I was the vest guy for a while. Like, I was always like, it seemed like I was just always thought, oh, this is my voice now. This is my voice now. This is my voice now.
And then you realize you just got to be yourself.
And yeah, and I think that's, it took me a while to get there. But one thing I noticed about you is, like, even from when you first started, like, just watching clips of you from, back in the day, like, previous television stuff, like, it seems like you've always, like, there was never that exploring for you. Like, you knew from the get-go, like,
I think
this
I
is
almost
just
had
who
the
I am.
opposite happen. So my natural way of dressing was I would wear either a skirt or dresses and sneakers. I just always wore sneakers. And then after a while, people started saying, like, that's a cool thing. Like, they thought I was doing it on purpose.
Right.
But then I think the opposite happened, because then, I don't know, I just decided one day I'm going to wear jeans all the time. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I just got, I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter why. And then people were like, what happened? That was your thing. That's like, and then I started feeling weird, like, maybe I do have to wear that outfit to
Right.
fit, like, is that my persona? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it. But
Yeah. And then people will be like, that's how we know you. We know you as the, which, even though I didn't do it on purpose, I could see where they were saying, because sometimes at, like, comedy club, there was a comedy club manager that told me, he goes, you know, sometimes people don't remember your name, and they'll be like, who's the comic that always wears, like, a skirt and sneakers? And people are like, oh, Jen Murphy. That's, although now there's a ton of females in comedy, and there's a
Right.
lot of them doing the same thing. But I think when I started, there weren't as many of us.
Mhm.
So it did, if there's something that makes you remember people. But no, I didn't do it on purpose, but yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think that's just something that I've always respected from you, is that you've always been the same. But like comics like myself, that I think for a while, like, I grew a huge beard out, and then I did all this other things just to try and stick out. But it was like now,
So was that your intent? You were trying to stick out, like be
I think so. I don't know what it was.
like dress differently than anybody
I was
else on
just
the
trying,
show?
Yeah, I was just trying to be memorable. When it's like, oh, you know what you could do is just maybe write jokes and be funny. Like that works too in comedy.
Yeah, but I can see how easily people could fall into that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think as a girl, it might be a little easier for people to be like, "Who's that girl?" But because there's not as many. But I mean, for men, for certainly,
Yeah.
there's guys I've seen a couple times, like over the years, and I'm still like, "What the fuck is his name again?" Fuck. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can see how you can fall into that trap of wanting to have a certain thing that people remember you by.
And I mean, this is something we've talked about so much offline, is that there's not thirst trap Jen Murphy pictures on your Instagram. Like, I think now, like, a lot of female comics would do that in hopes that, like, oh, for the same reason that I would do all these different gimmicks, is like to be memorable, to stick out, to
Yeah.
like, oh, hey, I'm actually doing this to be funny. I was like, no, you're not really doing it to be funny. You're doing it to get attention and get booked. And good on you if that's what you're going to do. But like, I've noticed that, you're one of the handful of comedians that I know that, you never fell into that. There's not like any
Yeah.
type of those pictures.
I
And,
just slipped
like,
once, and then I had to take it down
you like freaked out when you did it. But then,
because I got some messages that weren't nice.
oh, wow. But do you think, even if you didn't get those messages, that you would have ever fell into that? Or is that just something you're like, it's not?
No, I think the reason I did do it that one time is because I started seeing everybody else that was doing it get a lot more attention than me, and I had a weak moment.
Yeah.
I've never had that again. I haven't felt, but that moment I did. I was like, well, maybe I should try and do something sexy.
Yeah.
But if I tried to do that, so I'm not a big fan of female comedians doing that, just because I don't like the comedians to have that kind of image of like
Right.
nakedness. But the ones where you can tell, like, if it is their thing, if they're comfortable with it, it's fine.
Right.
But if you can tell somebody's forcing it, it's even
Yeah.
it's even more pathetic.
I get it.
And if I don't want to, but if I tried to do that, it'd be so forced and it's not natural. And
Yeah.
it'd be just so much more pathetic.
But I admit, like, it's also unfair because, like, I crack up anytime I see a guy doing it. Like, not the thirst trap, like, not the model comedians who are, like, all of a sudden, like, dressing like models and giving you those bedroom eyes, but like James Fry example. When I just see a picture of James Fry's bare
hilarious.
ass, like, I just think it's the funniest thing. Like,
but you have seen now some male comedians who I've known for years, and then all of a sudden there's a picture of them in their underwear, and I'm like, you're not even being funny. You're just
like, good on you for trying to for making people think it's funny, but
I think the thing about women that makes me so mad, it's not because I'm like, oh, they're getting booked more than me because they're showing their boobs. It's not that at all. It's that I always thought, like, when I first got into stand-up, I loved one of the things I loved so much about it was, like, I don't have to try and be pretty or anything.
Right.
When I grew up, stand-up was like Roseanne, and like, it wasn't an attractive sport.
Right. No, I get it.
So that's what made me more mad, is like, no, wait, don't make this sexy now.
Yeah, because it's not.
Now every female's doing a special, and you see them in clubs for years dressing in T-shirts and stuff. All of a sudden there's a special, they come out walking all funny because they never wear heels, with like skirts all the way up and cleavage, and it's like, if that's you, that's fine, but that's not you.
Right.
Why are you trying to make this sexy? And it doesn't make you funnier. It usually takes away, I think, from the funniness for some people.
And who was it? Jeff Dye, like, had a real interesting thing. He talked about how he's just a naturally good-looking guy.
Yeah.
And how he tried for so long to be a goofy looking guy because he wanted to fit in with comedy.
Yeah.
And then I think he said Jeff Ross or someone talked to him like, no, hey, you're a good looking guy. Like, stop the long hair and the beanies and everything. Like,
Yeah.
that's not you. But now, like, I'm even noticing guys that, like, are, like, putting little thirst trap pictures up. Like, they're, like, modeling, holding a thing of whiskey, sitting on a couch with tight jeans on and everything. And I was like, that's not you. Like, that's your headshot you're using for a comedy show. Like, nothing about that picture tells me, hey, this guy's funny. Like, you're kind of coming off like a little douchey. Like,
it's funny how it works the opposite for men, because Jeff Dye is such a great writer, and I think he's probably underrated for how good of a comic he is.
Because of his looks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a really good writer.
Yeah.
And every time I see him, it's new stuff. Constant.
Yeah. I forget where I just saw him do a podcast. He's on this podcast train now, too. Once he heard I was doing one, he was like...
Makes sense.
I get it.
He's probably dyeing his hair blonde, too, huh?
Oh, dang, dude. I've had this for like 3 months now, and it's still...
Been a while.
It's still going. So where can people find you at, Jen Murphy?
Well, on the social media, I'm at Jen Murphy Comedy. But my website that has all my dates of performing is jenmurphy.live.
And this will be out Monday next week.
Sweet. I'll
any
promote
plane? Where?
Let's see. If
upcoming
you're
shows?
in Southern California next week, I'll be doing the Ice House on Friday, the 15th. That's in Pasadena.
Okay.
If you're abroad, well, not abroad. If you're out of California.
If you're a dude.
If you're out of California. I will be. I just booked. I'm very excited. I'm going to feature for Tom Green at the Raleigh Improv.
What?
So for all your, how many listeners do you have in North Carolina? Probably a
Probably,
few 100,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, Raleigh's a big city.
It's one of my lower demographics, but a couple 100,000.
Yeah, so Raleigh Improv, December 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Nice. Congratulations on that. Fun gig.
Thank you.
I'm
quite excited.
Yeah.
Where are you going to be? Where can I stalk you?
You can stalk me. This is next. Next weekend I will be with Key Lewis at 2 Air Force bases, one in Jersey and one in Virginia. So we are headed to that. I wish I knew the names of them, but it's through the GIs of Comedy, so I don't really know much about it. But I also know that it's not public entrance. Like, you got to be resident of the base. So
look at you. Fancy.
yeah, look at me. You know. So
thinking you deserve shit just because you went to Afghanistan.
I went to Iraq. So, all right, Jen Murphy, thank you so much for being my first guest, and
Thank you.
let's go do a shot.